Lindsay, are you ready to go?
All set. Thanks to everyone for your patience. Good morning and good afternoon, and welcome to Hitachi Solutions, 3 Keys to Driving Excellence in Oilfield Services, presented by Scott Cohn and Rachel Watson. Thanks everyone for attending, and I hope you enjoy the presentation. Before Scott takes it over, I just wanted to go over the agenda. So Scott is going to be talking about field ticketing, predictive maintenance, and resource optimization and scheduling. Scott, now you can take it over. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Lindsay. Thank you, everyone, for joining. And just audio check, video check here. Everyone see the first slide there. Please either speak up or chat and let us know if you're having trouble seeing the screen. So as Lindsay mentioned, we're going to go through some of the key enablers in oilfield services as we see them and how we go about solving those with our field service solution. Wanted to put this up as, you know, everything kind of drives back to shareholder value, whether that's, you know, revenue, cost, margin, certainly customer satisfaction, you know, efficient productivity in the field and so forth. And we look at these different enablers to solve and improve business operations with our solutions. So today we're going to really be talking about asset effectiveness, which kind of translates towards, you know, having well-utilized fleet of assets in the field, being able to have good uptime with those assets, how you deal with reactive, corrective, preventative, or predictive maintenance of those assets, how you coordinate and communicate what's going on between the field and the office with the functioning of those assets, and then how that translates in terms of either lower freight costs or, you know, make buy decisions from a fleet perspective if you can utilize your assets better and have them in the right location. You know, that's both equipment and people, realistically. We'll talk about field-based technologies, mobile technologies, and how that translates and what benefits that provides. There are different names for that out in the marketplace. You know, just basic field ticketing or LEM reporting or tower sheets in the rig servicing area. They all kind of function the same, but they're all being, you know, delivered by mobile technology directly in the field. The benefits and components that you achieve from that sort of technology, whether that's reduced DSO or improved billing accuracy. We'll talk about how that's accomplished. And of course, eliminating the paper, duplicate data entry and things of that sort, and what that would bring. We'll talk about resource optimization and scheduling. That's both for your fleet assets, your equipment and tools and so forth, as well as your people. Having good visibility into the availability of those assets, you know, scheduling them more tightly for better utilization, better productivity in the field. The use of, you know, location awareness with those assets, and then just talk about, you know, on-time performance and what that might have an impact on with customer satisfaction when you get out to the job on time and so forth. There's some other aspects and enablers. I've listed 5 of them here. There's certainly more, but when we get into risk management, you know, health and safety, there's components that field mobility will bring to record those incidents and you know, help manage the health safety activities that go on within everyone's organization. And when we talk about talent and people management, there's a lot around that from a human resource, human capital perspective, but certainly from you know, a compensation and what you're capturing for labor reporting and eventually for payroll, there's an aspect of that from the mobile technology as well. When we look at kind of the ecosystem or the value chain, whether it's upstream, midstream, or downstream, there's a touch from a field service perspective that we offer whether that's drilling services or industrial equipment. The providers of these field services to each of these organizations, pipeline integrity, for example, or even downstream, dispensing of natural gas or oil and gas at gas stations and so forth. There's a component that field service brings to all levels of value chain throughout the oil and gas industry. And then to get specific in terms of our customer base and some of the things that we've been doing out in the marketplace for a number of years, we can talk about folks like Ensign that have been using the application since about 2007. They use it for their service rig, as well as 4 or 5 other different lines of business out there. And we'll get into discussing how Ensign has achieved good benefits from that. If you talk about the manufacturers, whether it's pipeline integrity manufacturers or somebody like Tesco that does top drives and so forth, or casing services and other drilling services, there's a component there that we provide, even out to rental equipment and so forth. CETA in the industrial cleaning, everything from the refineries down to a simple welding job or cleaning out tanks and things of that sort. So quite a spectrum of different services that this is very applicable to. You got Secure Energy and the oil field mud and downhole lubrication and things that they bring out to the marketplace. We talked about clean energy in the clean natural gas fueling dispensing area, and the maintenance of those high compression tanks and dispensers and equipment that's used at those locations. And of course, an environmental aspect of this too, with cleanup and waste. And FCC Environmental is a good example of oil recycling and environmental field services. And just a little bit of background on the field service application and how we have brought that to market and what we go to market with. It's really a packaged product and a platform that can be used for short duration jobs. Maybe you're going out to do a welding job or fix something, do maintenance on equipment or something like that, and that might be just a couple-hour job, to the long duration jobs where there's a plant shutdown and you're going to put 60 people out there for a month. So the model works in both situations and can be exploited to, for organizations that have a broad mix of services that they provide. We've been doing this a long time. We have good industry coverage for all the different types of work that are out there, including rentals. And one of the keys to the success of this is having an integrated solution for that mobile technology. We leverage the latest HTML5 technology for that purpose. That works connected, disconnected. So if you're out up far north in an oil field and don't have connectivity, that's not a problem. You can still complete these tickets from a mobile perspective and get those back into the office, and we kind of call it silently syncing back into the office and the technology to support that. Has to be highly configurable and highly scalable, and our customer base has everywhere from 50 to 50,000 assets that are being scheduled on a local, regional, or global level within the field service application. And then just getting down a little bit deeper into the footprint of the application, we talked about configurability, which is very important. Be able to put in your own nomenclature, your pricing, structure the application the way that you need for your business. But the primary components of this solution, and as a platform, it runs standalone or as integrated into ERP solutions. Those primary components are the job input mechanism. So how do I correlate the customer, the job site, the contract pricing, and pull that together to generate the quote, the bid, generate the call sheet, and eventually the field ticket that's going to be out there. So that's all through the job input mechanism. The ability to schedule multiple different kinds of resources. We have a nice tool called Dynamic Best Fit, which we'll demonstrate towards the end of the discussion here. But that gets the right equipment, the right crew out to the job on time with good, accurate availability based on folks' skill sets, the type of equipment that needs to be used, what's the proximity and availability, and even do they have the right tools and equipment and parts to get the job done. We talked about HTML5. With that solution, you can do just about anything that you would find on a tower sheet or other field ticketing capture solutions. That includes all the safety checks, incident reporting, the bill of material, the bill of what they call BOPs. So, you know, if you're recording quality information, downhole information, pressure tests, things of that sort, details of operations, supervisor job site signature, plus all of your labor, equipment, and material charges that you might be capturing currently either on paper or on some form of mobile devices today. And then primarily it's a work order management system that pulls all that information together to allow you to get this stuff done out in the field. And then in a larger context of the full life cycle from order to cash, we do offer our field service solution in a standalone fashion, but we also have integration into ERP systems and certified integration into Dynamics AX. So we'll take it through that bid, contract, call sheet process that I spoke of, out through job input, through the scheduling process, managing that activity out in the field as new equipment's being called off or called on, other labor resources are being assigned, and then that's moved neatly into the billing process and the accounts receivable process. So on a job-by-job basis, you'll see who's worked on it, all of the costs associated with that, as well as very accurate pricing to the customer so that you can do your margin analysis and reporting back in the home office. So a couple quick examples as we were speaking about how do we leverage this technology to provide, you know, job ticketing, scheduling, and predictive maintenance. For Ensign, it was really around that tower sheet and the ability to capture accurate pricing to the customer. This has been a great story for a number of years, where from that point of service to the point that you get to bill it, on average, was about 17 days. With the field service solution, it's less than 2 days, and it's more accurate. Ensign will tell the story that because it's so accurate, that when they send the bill to their customer, they have a lot of trust in that, and so the accounts payable will put it on top of the list and even pay it faster. So day sales outstanding is reduced in that process, and all the different kinds of things that you would need to capture on a tower sheet are available to you within the application. And this is an example of that. So the daily work record or the tower sheet with the details of the crew and their hours worked, any other mileage, subsistence charges, things of that sort, all of the equipment charges or any expendables that might be required. Spoke of those BOPs. In this case, it's rod and tubing detail, downhole pressure, and then the details of operations. So, you know, very accurate reporting of what happened in the field and what they were doing, you know, in blocks of time as they went throughout the day. That can include the customer signature or the job site supervisor signature, and that information is readily available. It's all tied together between the equipment that was used and the people and so forth against that work order that can be used in the ERP system for billing, job costing, payroll, expense reimbursement, feeding the safety and incident systems and so forth. And then also tied off to the equipment because I'm using the equipment on the job. I now have some visibility into the cycles that that equipment went through and how that would be maintained going forward. So there's a lot of information that is captured if it's put together right at that point of service, captured once, and then moved through to all the other subsystems. I mentioned resource scheduling. This might be interesting, hopefully, for some of you on the phone. With TD Williamson, they do schedule about 50,000 assets across the world as they go through their different hot tapping and plugging jobs or their pipeline integrity pigging jobs. The equipment is assembled with our scheduler. We can have alternate different methods for that assembly of equipment, and you can kind of guarantee, because you have good visibility into the availability of that equipment when you're promising the customer. So they operate in about 30 different countries in 50-something service centers, and they have visibility at that local service center of what equipment's available, but they can expand the scope and look to maybe they need one piece of equipment to fulfill that job, and they can borrow it from a neighboring service center or even across the globe. So having visibility into those assets, where to deploy them, having better accuracy that you can deliver those assets out to the job site so you don't incur, expedited freight costs and so forth, are all part of that solution that we provided. And with TD Williamson, that's a global one ERP solution that flows out across all their different regions on 5 different continents. And the key to that scheduling capability is the ability to really be able to define the requirements for the job accurately, both the labor resources and skill set, but also the equipment configuration. So kind of in a project style, I can define, maybe I need to do a pre-job maintenance. I'll operate the equipment when it gets out to the job site, and a post-job maintenance when it's done. So having those dependencies and being able to control how that's going to happen across a job, and then be able to allocate, the real asset serial number to that job throughout that process, and kind of block that out for that job, and know when that equipment is going to be available, be out at the job site, know when it's going to be returned, or know when it has to be taken down for maintenance and put through back through the process, and therefore be unavailable for the next job. So a lot of key benefits that you can gain from scheduling all of this together. Another example here with Tesco. Again, they'll have like their top drives and a couple of guys going out maybe for a month, kind of almost in a rental situation, but they're operating that equipment. Or they might be doing casing or downhole services or other field service activity on different manufactured equipment. Again, these guys are around the world, all through South America, Europe, and North America as well. And when we talk about the maintenance schedules, and it's really trigger-based maintenance or usage-based maintenance to get kind of a good snapshot of how that equipment is being used and what maintenance cycles that it's on. So here's an example where, every 1,000 miles, or, so much fuel used, or so many service hours, or even calendar time. So there's a metered structure that's captured right along with the job. So it's kind of automated from that perspective. That will trigger maintenance to occur based on the cycles that are required. And if we get into predictive maintenance, you'll have to have smart equipment and sensors and so forth to drive that. But that model is what we call usage-based maintenance, and will drive that maintenance activity directly from the job activity that equipment is assigned to. So kind of in summary, how all these things tied together, I started out with those individual enablers and so forth, but they are interlinked. and that's where distinct advantages can be gained. You could start with one of those or two of those, but the power is in combining all of those and nesting that activity within the work order to achieve these kind of summary benefits. So it's a single point of entry from the field that drives that DSO down, drives the accuracy of the billing up, and supports that process. And then there's better productivity from better resource utilization. That's your fleet of assets as well as the folks in the field. We talked about the impact to higher freight costs or even customer satisfaction. So if you can promise your customer that you'll have those assets available while you're talking to them on the phone in a few seconds, that customer satisfaction level goes up as well as those costs going down. So I'm going to stop there, and we're going to do a couple of quick product demonstrations just to highlight some of the things that I've been talking about. And I'm going to start with a little bit on that job input and the scheduling, touch on the usage-based maintenance, and then I'm going to turn it over to Rachel to talk and demonstrate the job ticketing component. So if you give me just 1 second. This is the field service application, and I've got it sitting on a roll page here. This is kind of designed as a maintenance mechanic in a service center who is trying to stage equipment that's going to be put out on the jobs, or is de-staging the equipment as it's coming back in from the field. And the maintenance triggers are going to be derived based on that job activity that equipment has been on. So you can kind of see some scheduled maintenance orders or maybe even some pre- or post-job maintenance that's going to occur. But if we talk about a process where we're going to go from job input to scheduling those assets, we're going to want to know which customer we're going to send the equipment out to in a particular site and location, and we're going to set up a job number, and then we're going to define that job itself. So in this case here, we're doing these hot tap jobs, and excuse me, through engineering specifications, we determined that it's going to be a hot tap on an 8-inch pipe, and we'll have our different methods for getting this accomplished. There'll be a standard method for configuring that equipment that needs to get out to the job site, and then we're going to want to say, when are we going to do that job? And we'll specify the length of the job, call it a 2-day job to start tomorrow, and I've got enough information to get this thing going. So I go ahead and hit next, and this will pull in the requirements of that job as we saw from the resource scheduling, and it will specify that I need labor of a certain skill set, and I'm going to need a configuration of tools here. So this is how I can go get this job done. I'll need a drilling machine, a power unit, some adapters and cutters to solve that hot tap 8-inch. I'm sitting here, my scope is set to one service center. If the equipment was not available, if it didn't show up, those are the real assets that are available. I could go up scope to find that equipment. But I do have that equipment here. I could go and look at, if I, again, did not have equipment available, go look at a alternate method for getting this done. So instead of a T203, I might want to look at a 660 tapping machine. And if I pick a 660 tapping machine, I'm now going to need a different power unit, a different set of adapters and cutters and so forth. So quickly, easily be able to identify the equipment that would work under this configuration. I could go and select all of that, or just say go ahead and select the top ranked resources and hit go. And that will get my configuration of equipment. I'm on the phone with the customer telling them, yep, I can get that job done, and we'll be out on that job site tomorrow. So go ahead and schedule up those resources, including that skilled technician that's required for the job. I could go over here to various different scheduler boards and view that equipment has now been assigned to that job. I had another job sitting there, and I just created this one down here. So all of that equipment has been marked as reserved for the job, and any steps that I need to take, pre-job maintenance, post-job maintenance will be there and available. So pretty quickly and easily managing, availability of those assets and asset utilization as I move forward. Now, as that equipment's being used on the job, I'll pull a piece up here. This is a tapping machine like we just saw. We have some particulars about this. Every time this piece of equipment was used on a job site, I've got that history. I can pull utilization reports. I've got the specifications of that equipment if that's how I want to schedule that stuff up, if it's got some unique requirements. I've got my maintenance history, maintenance cycle plan, when's the next maintenance going to occur, what was the last maintenance that was done, when does that need to get done. I can drill in all of that, actually see the, the actual maintenance cycle for it. I have location tracking with this asset, so I'll know, if it is in that service center or the yard, if it's out at the job site and so forth, and just have a broad spectrum of equipment management and maintenance management with the application. So I wanted to kind of talk about the scheduling, the equipment maintenance, and I'm going to turn it over to Rachel to talk a little bit about job ticketing, and I will, then we'll go from there. So I'm going to change you.
Great. Let me pull up my mobile screen. It's thinking about coming up here. Give me 1 second. Having a few technical difficulties getting my remote desktop and trying to go in won't sign.
While Rachel's doing that, if there's any particular questions up to this point, I think we're a small enough group that we can open it up.
Okay, great. I was able to get my my remote desktop up. So now what I am showing is the mobile mobility solution for both. Was there a question? No questions? Great. So our mobility solution works both online and offline. Today I'm going to be showing the laptop version, but we support, whether it's a laptop, a tablet, or a phone, the screen will automatically size based upon the device. It's also multi-platform, which means you can run it off of Windows, you can run it off of Android, or you can run it off of iOS. So what I've done is I've logged into the home page for the mobile engineer, so they can see a series of tabs. The first thing they'll see is the appointments. These are the jobs they've been scheduled that are upcoming. They have the ability to actually quote from the field. So in addition to quoting in the back office, if you enable your engineers on site to create quotes and put those through an approval process, they can do that. They're also able to go in and look at their timesheet. So as they are working on jobs that is accumulating time, that feeds both your payroll as well as your invoicing, in addition to expenses. And then down at the bottom, they can go in and they can look at their vehicle details. So if the vehicle they're driving has on-hand inventory, they could go in and see what inventory they have on hand. So I'll just quickly kind of pop into the timesheet. So they're going to be able to see what time has accumulated for the day, or the time that they've accumulated for the week. So I can see that I've got time from yesterday. So 3 of the entries I've already submitted. There's 2 entries I still need to submit. So there's this kind of two-way communication between the field and the back office. As I submit my time and it goes in for approval. If there's any discrepancies or changes made, it can be rejected, pushed back out to me. I can see those changes and then resubmit. So now that you have complete automation, not only on your invoicing, but also into your payroll. So let's go ahead and look at our appointments that we have for today. I know I've got, say, a drilling job that I need to go and work on. So I've got 4 appointments that I'm going to be able to look at. 3 are ones that are past due. I went ahead and logged into the current one I have, which is to go out and work at the Gila Bend plant. So there's a couple things I could do as a technician. I can actually walk through the accepting and showing in transit and arrive to the location if you want to be able to have all that statusing. As I do create, as I go through these steps, it is updating the back office on the scheduling board. Some of our customers, though, will simply just start and stop jobs. So it really depends upon your requirements. So on this job, as the engineer, I can look down. I've got some notes available to me, so I can see the coverage terms for this agreement that this job is covered under. I can see the equipment that I'm going to be working on, as well as all the equipment at this location. If I make my way down a little bit more, I can see that there's some surveys that I'm being prompted to go through and populate. So we've got this concept in our system of being able to create surveys to drive workflows or to create checklists or knowledge trees in the field. So it'll walk the engineer through a series of questions that they're answering. And depending on how they answer those questions, then it might prompt additional questions as well. And then down here at the bottom, I can see I have documents. So all throughout the system, whether it be on a contract, on a given job, on a location, on a piece of equipment, I can associate documents, and those documents will be pushed down to the mobile device. So if I want to show schematics of a given location or technical documentation for the equipment, then I can do that. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start this job. So when I go in and start the job, it's going to ask me to select the piece of equipment that I want to work on, unless you want to do it task-based. So some of our customers will have versus a piece of equipment, they're going to go out and they're working on a rig. So they need to be able to rig in and rig out and select what task they want to accumulate time and inventory against. So I'm going to go ahead and use this surface object that was already assigned on this job so that I could go ahead and create all of my labor line items and materials. So now that I've started this job, I can begin to do things such as adding notes if I wanted to, or simply go down to the perform section and add in my, my labor and expenses. So once I have recorded my performed line items, I can capture signature at any point during this process. So if you need to capture signature upon arriving and showing that you've gone through some sort of safety checklist, or if you simply want to capture signature for the line items that you performed and the items that you have consumed. Because of this job, I had already assumed that I had 3 resources on it that were going to be working 8 hours. So it will automatically, from starting and stopping this job, create those plan line items for me. Or you can give your engineers the ability to create that as they go through the service process. So for the sake of time, I'm going to go ahead and stop this job. Once I stop this job, I can look at the service ticket report. I can see the what has been accumulating as far as fees and expenses and time. I can look at that invoice. I can show it to the customer prior to coming down and clicking on their approval and actually having them capture the signature. So that signature, once I finish this job, is sent to the back office as well as all of the line items that were accumulated on this job. And sign for the work. Once I capture that signature and hit done, it will complete this job. So on the scheduling board in the back office, if we were to go look at that job, it would show that it's been completed. The color really just pop out of this and go into the back office. All right. My server is not playing friendly today, so I apologize for the lag. So now I'm back on the portal. I can search for jobs for that given location or search for jobs that have been finished that I need to put through an approval process. So here I've started to type in for Gila Bend, so here are all the jobs for that specific location. I have one here that's already been completed, so let's go ahead and take a look at that one. Every event that this job goes through is tracked on the events log, so I can see from the time it was created, scheduled, started, and completed. I can see the resources that perform that function. If you do have GPS-enabled devices, which most smartphones and laptops are today, it'll capture the latitude and longitude of where that reading was taken. So even if I was out of coverage, maybe I was even out of coverage for a couple of days, as I was out in the field and I was going through all of those steps, it's tracking all the information, it's tracking all the statuses, and once I do come back into coverage, it automatically pushes that information to the back office. So you don't lose anything with the tech being out of coverage. All the surveys that were completed out in the field, any inspections or safety reports, surveys on the equipment to capture different readings, all of that is pushed back with that job, along with all the performed line items. So any fees, expenses, those are also captured and pushed in the back office. All the pricing that's associated to that customer is applied to those individual line items. They can then go through a review process if you need to make any adjustments prior to approving them. Once the lines are approved, that's the trigger that's going to post these against your project and GL in your accounting system.
About some of those reports there. Just to get the view of it.
Sure. So we have various reports. So especially within oil and gas, we have some customers that use a LIM report, labor, equipment, and materials. Other ones that are using the tower sheets like Scott showed in his presentation. Other times we'll create reports based off of the surveys that are completed out in the field. So here I've got a tower sheet. So what it's going to do is it's going to take all that information I captured as part of the survey process or capturing labor and expenses, and it's going to create it for me and put it in the format of a tower sheet that I can either email to the customer, show them at the point of service in the field, or attach it as part of the invoicing process.
Excellent. All righty. Well, I think that hopefully touches on the key points that we were bringing up, and I think muted there. I'm going to go back to presenter. Just kind of finish up here. What I'd like to do at this point is, we went through a lot of information, and I want to open it up for questions on any of the topics that we discussed. If you have any questions, please feel free to jump in. There's a lot of different angles that we can exploit with the platform that we have. And everyone's own specific requirements are going to be unique to them. We see that quite a bit, and we have a lot of, experience in multiple different, kind of attack angles on these sort of things. So if there are any questions from the audience out there, I'd be happy to take them. Thank you. So there is a question via chat there. We talked about preventative maintenance. How do we deal with predictive maintenance? Hitachi Solutions, we didn't go through that too much. You can kind of see some of the different angles that we have here from product solutions and implementation. The family is very, very large. There's actually 900 group companies, and we work with another company called Hitachi High-Tech, which provides sensors and specific different capabilities around the sensing of equipment. And they have a lot of different applications. And when we work with them, that information you might have heard of, like big data and whatnot. They have a lot of great techniques for kind of manipulating that information to actually predict, based off of those sensors, some events, right? Let's say, for example, it might be refrigeration and the temperature of that refrigerator trending in the wrong place. That would give you an indication to go do maintenance because it's falling out of its cycle. So when we talk about predictive maintenance, the field service application can exploit that, but it's really coming from that predictive analysis that smart equipment would have to feed, or smart sensors and so forth. So good question. Okay, it looks like there are a few questions here. Guys in the field are not computer savvy on the whole, so how do you address user adoption? There's various different ways to address user adoption. I've seen some where it gets pretty tactical, where folks have said, okay, you're going to use the system, learn it, and if you want to be paid, you will use the system, and if you don't put your data in, you don't get paid. That's a little bit drastic, but the way that we approached it was to design the mobile experience as ATM friendly, right? You haven't been necessarily trained when you come up to an ATM. They're all different between the banks, but easy buttons, self-directed flow, you get your cash out at the end. So I think that's true in oil field services as in other field service industries where not everyone is computer savvy. A lot of the younger folks are, but our notion is keep it pretty simple and easy to use, and that will get that accomplished. One more question about working offline, and then some concerns around data integrity and security. What if the device breaks or is lost or stolen? So the offline capability, without kind of getting into all the technical nature of it, we push the entire work order package down to the device. There's at some point where device connectivity is required for the most part. But everything is self-contained once it arrives on the device. It's set up in a message queue, and when the device is back online, there's a little bit of a constant polling to get that presence detection. That message is silently synced back to the office. That happens just like email, if you're familiar with it, and you go into airplane mode. When you come back online, those messages are queued up and sent back to the server. So it works just about like that. And then one last question on location tracking of assets out in the field, and do you require GPS? And the answer is no, you don't require GPS, but as Rachel mentioned, some of the smartphones have that location detection, and so we will take advantage of that. But we use a mechanism called last known location. So as the equipment, for example, is being updated and arrived on the job site, we know the GPS coordinates of the job site, and we update that equipment location so that people back in the office know that it's arrived and where it's currently located. So good questions. I think that's all of the questions that were here. If anybody else has any others, we'd be happy to take them. Either everybody's on mute or there's no more questions. Yeah, so thank you very much for your time, and we welcome the opportunity to chat with you further if you do have questions, and maybe have some one-on-one conversations about your particular situations out there. And I think with that, Lindsay, I'll turn it back over to you. I think we're concluding.
Yeah, thanks so much, Scott and Rachel, for the presentation and demo, and thanks everyone again for attending. It was greatly appreciated. Like Scott had mentioned, if you're interested in anything else, we're definitely more than welcome to help you out. And if you're interested in having a copy of the presentation for your own reference, also reach out to me at Lindsay or lmitchell@hitachi.solutions.com. And thanks again. Enjoy the rest of your Tuesday.